Hi guys, DZ Movies here. Today we are taking a look at drama fantasy film called Mine. Spoilers ahead. Seat back, relax and enjoy. The movie begins with a hardened US Marine, Mike Stevens, remembering when he said goodbye to his girlfriend, Jenny, at the airport and then travels in a helicopter to his next mission. In the following scene, Mike and his spotter, another military member named Tommy Madison, are stationed on a cliff overlooking a desert, waiting for their target to arrive. Tommy is a chatterbox by nature, while Mike has a more serious disposition, and he likes to joke around with him. It is known then that they have been on this mission since 3 months ago. Then, they notice multiple people on foot on one side and multiple armed vehicles on the other, approaching Mike's target, a 65-year-old terrorist named Saeed. However, Mike is not sure if the man is really the terrorist they are looking for. Because the truck is not black, as their commands had told him, but instead is gray. As Tommy and the voice over the radio try to get Mike to make the hit, he realizes that the group has gathered for a wedding and that the target might be the groom's father. Tommy doesn't care and pushes him to make the hit, but Mike's not able to do it. Things get complicated when the groom and bride block the target. When Mike is ordered to take out the groom to get to the target, he can't bring himself to take what seems to be an innocent life. Mike lies to his command center that he lost the target. The duo are then spotted by armed men protecting the ceremony. Gunfire follows the target, who immediately flees while Mike and Tommy are forced to retreat as armed men start chasing them. While escaping, they damage their GPS and hide behind a rock formation. The armed men start walking towards the rock when Mike, to distract them, quickly shoots in the distance to send them in the other direction. After evading the armed men, they get trapped in a sandstorm. They request from their higher command an evacuation but are told they need to cross the desert in front of them to get to a village 5 hours away where they can be picked up. They set out on foot, weathering sandstorms and scorching heat. Tommy tells Mike how his son strengthened his marriage and made him a better parent. Tommy, seeing Mike silent and troubled, forces Mike to open up. Mike reveals that he is having trouble proposing to Jenny. Tommy mocks his fear, but advises him that marriages can be difficult at first, but get easier with time. A warning sign flies beneath their feet as they walk through the desert. Mike interprets the sign and recalls that 33 million landmines have been buried in the desert in the last 40 years. Tommy assures him it's just a Berber ruse. Mike is still wary, his thoughts on the warning sign. Tommy walks backwards carefree a few yards in front of Mike, taking lighthearted digs at Mike for being an overthinker. Suddenly, a click is heard, followed by an explosion. Tommy stepped on a mine. Mike takes a step towards Tommy, and there's another click where his foot has just landed. He freezes in shock, knowing that if he moves, he will explode. Tommy has survived the explosion, but his legs have been amputated below the knees. Tommy screams and quivers in pain. Mike, unable to move, tries to calm Tommy and tells him to self-inject morphine. When nothing seems to work, Mike brings up Tommy's son, Jake, which gives him some motivation, and he's able to inject himself with the morphine that Marines carry in their front pocket. Tommy reaches for his radio after injecting himself, but it doesn't work. Tommy's pain returns. Mike decides to step off the landmine to help Tommy, speculating that the landmine he stepped on is old and different. Tommy warns him not to, and in order to dissuade Mike, he pulls out his gun and shoots himself in the head, committing suicide. Mike screams in agony. He is alone in the desert, unable to move. He soon gets tired of standing and gets down on one knee. He takes out a knife and sticks it in the sand under his feet, feeling the sound of a piece of iron. It seemed that there was really a mine underneath his feet. At that moment, he didn't realize that there was a black man behind him. But the man quickly turns around and leaves. Mike realizes he must somehow fetch the radio lying next to Tommy several yards away. He ties his shoelaces to an axe to pull the radio back towards himself. However, he learns that the radio's battery is dead and that the spare is on Tommy's body. Mike is dejected but thinks of another plan. He makes a makeshift arrangement to charge the radio using solar power. While the radio is charging, he counts all the munitions he has left. After some time, the radio starts functioning, and Mike is then able to contact his superiors. He requests immediate evacuation, but his commander does not seem to care much, and he only tells him that rescue choppers can't fly to his location because of frequent sandstorms. If it all goes well, a convoy will rescue him in about 52 hours. Mike gets frustrated by the response. The major then suggests Mike try the Schumann maneuver, which consists of digging a ditch and jumping in it, which would only result in a non-life-threatening limb loss. However, the success rate was only 3%. Setting a countdown on his watch, Mike decides to tough it out and wait for rescue. Unfortunately, another massive sandstorm hit with full force. He manages to wait it out without moving from his spot, protecting his head and all the munitions. Once it's over, the first thing he realizes is that the storm has brought Tommy's body, and therefore the spare battery, right next to him. Yet the radio has drifted too far from his reach. Hours pass by, Mike runs out of water and gets increasingly desperate. He shoots through the air trying to gain attention, but nobody comes to his rescue. Then, thinking there was no hope, he started thinking about killing himself. He then notices a Berber coming towards him, walking in a zigzag. Mike tries to warn him about the landmine, but the Berber imitates his actions, seemingly making fun of him. Mike tries to explain his situation to the Berber man, but he insists that Mike must take the next step. Mike became frustrated with the man. And then, suddenly, he takes Mike's water flask and disappears into the desert, encouraging him to take the next step. Completely dehydrated and desperate, Mike proceeds to drink his pee. When he notices a little Berber girl coming his way, he brings back his water flask. She hands it to Mike, and to his relief, it's filled with water. Although the girl never speaks, she uses her toy soldiers. She, too, seemingly tells Mike that he has to step off the mine and move on. Mike tells her that he can't move and asks the little girl to fetch him his radio, but the girl doesn't understand. Desperate Mike gets too loud, scaring the girl away. Soon the night falls and the temperature starts to drop. Mike lights a fire to keep himself warm. He starts hearing noises of wild animals, and he proceeds to take his phone and look at the pictures of his girlfriend to keep himself distracted, until he finds a video. In the video, Jenny tells Mike that she is waiting for him and that he must win the war and come back to her as soon as possible. Mike begins to get emotional. He is afraid that he might never see his girlfriend again. Very tired, he starts to fall asleep, but he snaps out of a nightmare to find that the fire has died out. He finds himself surrounded by wild animals and tries to scare them with his gun, but fails. The animals drag Tommy's body away. One animal starts to proceed towards him. But using his torchlight, Mike shoots the animal with his gun. The animal lands on a landmine, causing an explosion and scaring the other animals away. The morning arrives, and the same Berber man again drops by. He tells Mike that he is very lucky that he has survived that far. Even after stepping on a landmine and spending a night in the desert with wild animals. He once again suggests that Mike step forward, but Mike doesn't comply. Mike tells him that the Berber probably knows the location of the mines as he always walks in a pattern. The Berber responds that he doesn't really know where the landmines are and he only walks in a zigzag because it is safer than walking straight. The Berber starts questioning him about why he was there in the war, which makes Mike think deeply about his decisions. Mike again asks him to fetch his radio, and this time the man finally agrees and brings the radio back to him and heads on his way. Not before telling him that he must keep on his way and encouraging him to become a free man. Because every path will lead him home. Mike checks his watch and there's still 24 hours left for the help to arrive. He gradually starts hallucinating. In his hallucinations, he sees Tommy wake up from his death. The imaginary Tommy motivates Mike and tells him that he will get out of this alive. As the sun sets, Mike starts to think about all the mistakes he has made in his life. He starts regretting leaving his girlfriend, Jenny, alone and coming to the mission. Having remembered how his father abandoned him, Tommy assures Jenny that he is not like that, and that he will go back to her. He again finds himself surrounded by animals. Mike aimlessly starts shooting at them in the dark, but the animals still attack him. He gets lost in his thoughts as he fights off the wild animals. As the sun rises, Mike again descends back to reality. All the wild animals that attacked him lay dead around him. He then receives a message from his senior, who informs him that the rescue team is running late. The senior asks him if he can hold on for 17 hours. He is already way past his breaking point. Mike replies that he cannot go any further. It collapses but is caught by the barber, who seems to arrive out of nowhere. The man starts nursing Mike's wounds and tells him about the time when he, too, once stepped on a mine that took off his leg. He tells Mike that losing his leg felt like he had lost everything in his life. However, the pain of losing his leg washed away when he met his wife, who was a nurse that took care of him. And when he became a father. He claims that whatever happens in our lives, we must keep moving on. Mike tells the man that he is lucky as his daughter, who brought him water, is really beautiful and has her father's smile. The man tells Mike that he no longer has a daughter. She died in a mine explosion during one of their father-daughter excursions to dig out mines and replace them with tin cans. Mike listens dumbfounded as the barber tells him he's happy his daughter came to meet Mike, but he really needs to move on now. Then he leaves. Mike sees his daughter again. But she quickly fades away with the wind. Mike starts to hallucinate again. He sees his abusive father, who used to beat his mother. While he watched helplessly, he saw his terminally ill mother. He also remembers the lovely times he spent with his girlfriend. At that moment, he hears on the radio that the rescue team is passing and they need him to make his exact location known. He picks up his flare, but before he gets to use it, the terrorists from before start shooting at him from over the hill. The shooting triggers a mine explosion nearby, which sends the flare flying out of Mike's hand and reach. He tries to fire back, but he is too weak. He remembers his girlfriend and uses it as motivation. Mike then uses his gun to shoot at the ground, triggering mine explosions around him, which create sand smoke, shielding him from the enemy. He then quickly grabs his sniper rifle and eliminates the terrorists. With the rescue team passing by, the flare is still out of reach. He has a hallucination of his father, who encourages him to keep moving forward. He takes a leap of faith and takes a step forward. Surprisingly, nothing happens. There was no explosion. He finds that the mine has been stepped on. It was, in fact, a tin, probably placed there by the Berber's daughter when she was alive. He realizes that this entire time, the man told him that he could move forward with his life and go back to his girlfriend, and the only thing stopping him was fear. Mike is relieved to be alive, despite the non-lethal gunshot wounds he sustained in the standoff. He then shoots the flare and collapses on the ground. The rescue team finds him and he returns home. Back home at the airport, Jenny is waiting for him with happy tears in her eyes. When he approaches her, he immediately drops to one knee, implying that he will propose. Something he was very scared of, after all the things he endured with his parents. Subscribe to this channel if you want more videos like this. Thank you for watching and don't forget to turn on notification to help this channel.